Welcome back to Love All, where there were more headlines coming out of Australia, courtesy of the current head of operations there, Craig Tiley, the tournament director, may or may not be headed to the USTA. We'll find out, I'm sure, in due time. But Craig said at the end of the tournament that he was looking into some potential big picture adjustments in the coming years. He was thinking of getting rid of warm-up time and lets. That's something that's been done in college tennis now for quite a while. He also wanted to consider best of 5 sets for women from the quarterfinals on. Lots to discuss here, Kim.
Let me go back to the first one. I think I have more of an issue with no warm-up.
Ooh, okay.
Because most of the time, we can't warm up right before. You can do some ball like dribbling and you run on a treadmill and things like that. But a lot of times those 5 minutes are also really important. I feel for me to adjust if you're playing a night match, to adjust your eyes a little bit to the light, to get a little feel for what the background is like, because we don't always play on the same court. Sometimes you have people in the back that are moving. Sometimes you're playing with a higher background. So to me, those first, in my time, it was 5 minutes, were, I think, very important to get your nerves a little bit under control, but also to adjust to, the weather changes, the light, sunlight, wind, like you have to get used to the. So I think, I don't know, I don't think those few minutes of the warm up will. I think they're important for players. That's, I think, what I want to say.
Okay.
Then. Maybe you have a different opinion about this, but the 5-setter, when I heard him say that, I was like, ooh, I kind of like that idea.
Tell us
I think
why.
I would have liked it as a player. I think I would have really enjoyed the challenge, the physical challenge of it as well, and the mental challenge that comes with that, right? Like I've always, I remember like asking Andy about it, like, what is that like when you play a 5-setter? Like, how do you adjust your mindset to, playing smaller tournaments throughout the year, and you have to, win 2 sets and to win the match. And so how does that change your mind? And it would definitely benefit a few players. The first one I can think of is, I think, an Iga Swiatek, I think, who, is super fit and has that really high intensity kind of tennis built into her game now. And so I think it would be really hard to beat her in 3 sets or to win 3 sets against her. So there's a few players have come out against it, right? Like that are not really looking forward to that. But I would have loved to have seen, as a tennis fan, I would have loved to have seen, a 4th or a 5th set in the women's final.
Okay. So here are my counterpoints. And I realize that this topic, this is putting myself in the line of fire here, but here are my counterpoints. Number one, we have spent the last several years lamenting the fact that tennis is being played in the middle of the night, and there are matches going past midnight, and it's ruining players' sleep schedules, and they're wrecked for days afterward. And this would only make that type of scheduling harder. Yes, potentially in the second week of a slam, things have thinned out a little bit and it's easier. But I can think of some WTA players who could potentially go at it for easily 5. I mean, you could see a 5+ hour match happening easily. I think especially on the women's side, where you're maybe not getting as many free points on the serve. So that's number one. We already have enough scheduling issues that are sort of unsolvable currently in tennis. And secondly, Craig Tiley made this point because they have metrics that say that interest in a tennis match goes up as the match continues. And I might argue that that is the case because for a men's 3 out of 5 set match, they are not sitting down at the beginning of the match because they know it doesn't get exciting until you get
the
to
later
sets 3, 4, 5.
stages. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And so I would say I have seen some incredibly exciting 2 out of 3 set matches on the men's side. I know people love the idea of best of 5 because we have seen these. You get more, and we have seen these epic 5th sets, and there's sort of the physical exhaustion piece of the pie sort of comes more into play when you've hit 4+ hours. So yes, there is more of sort of that dual gladiator feel to best of 5 set tennis. But if the match is bad, Kim, you get 3 sets of bad tennis. So you, on the flip side, you also just sort of elongate, a potential rough one. I don't know.
I know, but that's the ifs, right? You can always go about like, what if, like even the scheduling, I feel like the scheduling of a tournament, and is he talking about like the later stages of the tournament, the whole tournament?
Quarterfinals on.
Yeah. So, that's when that I think in scheduling purposes, it should fit in, I think, right? Because that's when you have a lot less matches. I think there's, more time, right, to play longer matches. And I think they calculate that in most of the time anyway, that the matches can take longer at the later stages of the tournament. But you have less. So I am normally somebody who loves like tradition, but maybe it's because I don't play anymore that I'm like, yeah, that kind of would be really interesting to see, the mental side of it, the physical side of it kind of come out. And but then I think in general, the point is too, where we've been talking about making the season shorter and for a while, and then I think then they definitely have to make changes to the schedule, because you want to protect obviously the best players and the players who are winning these Grand Slams. And if you start adding sets to their Grand Slam weeks, you have to make adjustments to the schedule. So it's a bigger operation than just saying, okay, yeah, we're going to let the players play 5 sets from the quarterfinals onwards. I think you do have to then, say, okay, the WTA is, I don't know, giving them some extra weeks where they're not mandatory to play certain tournaments, or they don't get fined if they don't play, or, there's a lot of things that then have to kind of be taken on. And, so maybe the players will like it if it gives them a little bit of a shorter season and a little bit more time to have some breaks between the Grand Slams.
Time will tell.
We'll see.
Cannot wait. I love this perspective from you, though. And just as a quick side note, Kim and I talked about this offline. Can you just tell the story about how you would get done, jump in an ice bath, and be like, "Let's go! I could run a marathon."
No, I remember like telling my trainer Sam in Australia, because it would be really hot at times, and like my feet more than anything would just get sore, like the skin would get like kind of just get sensitive, and but then I would do my ice bath. Like Sam would kind of look at like how long my match took, and then I would do my breathing techniques on the treadmill, and I would come out of the ice bath, take a shower, and then be ready to go to media or something, and I would tell him like. He's like, how do you feel? I'm like, yeah, good. Like, I feel like I can go back out there. Like, I'm like ready. And it's amazing how, when you're young, how quickly you recover. And it's fun. It's all these things. And that's like, even with Novak, like I love kind of seeing and hearing about the things that he does, the breath work, the recovery tools that he uses to still at this age, recover as quickly as possible, and that's where what I find some of the most interesting things about our sport now is how much of those outside factors are being used to it's not anymore the massages and the stretches and the recovery jogs, and there's so much more now that players are using, and that's one of the things that I'm super interested in and that I like to experiment with when I was playing, but learn about now too with these guys. And, so if there's anything I feel like where I would love to see a camera, it's in that side, like the recovery journey of a player, like Novak's like first hour after his game. Like, what does that look like for him? Like, that's where I would love the camera, like to be at that. I would love to see what that's like.
I feel like that's a Served Media Investigates or a Love All Investigates side documentary there. I love that idea. All right, moving on to Emma Raducanu firing her coach, Francisco Roig, former coach of Rafa Nadal, after 6 months. For those keeping score at home, she's now looking for a 10th coach. And before I get your comments on this, Kim, I have to tell you that she did her pre-Australian Open press, and I saw this exchange. I'm going to read it to you. And my initial thought was, oh, Francisco, you in danger, girl, because this is not what you want to hear a player say. She was asked about what looked like a slightly larger loopier backswing on her forehand. And this was her response. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I kind of noticed that more recently myself. It's not something that I really wanted to happen. So I need to kind of look at that and shorten it, because I feel like it's good in certain conditions when it's a little bit slower. But on these very quick courts, it doesn't really work. So I need to adjust that. I think it's because I've been working on certain things with Francis. She calls him Francis. And on a particular shot, it works well, but we didn't really practice a different type of shot, which doesn't work so well. It's probably because we haven't done the latter. It's just drifted in that way. It's not something I want to continue. And yeah, I read that and I thought to myself, yeah, this not great signs for their coach-player relationship. Yeah, we've talked about this, Kim. It's tough to know, and every player is different, but when do you move on? And is it okay to move on? Should we be paying less attention to the number and more attention to the fact that, okay, maybe she hasn't found a coach that works for her?
Right. But I also think it takes time for a coach to be able to do their job. Right. And that's, I think, something that's that finding that balance between, giving it time to trust your coach, giving it time for the effects that a coach can have. Because, a big red flag is when you have a coach that comes in and starts changing everything, that just is trying to put his footprint on a player and hoping that, that will give them recognition. I think those are big red flags. So I like that there's coaches who kind of take their time and want to kind of get to know their player, get to know how they think, and then learn to, a Darren Cahill is very much like that. And, to me, I'm almost like, I'm curious when I hear those kind of, headlines, and, who's making those decisions? Is she doing it? Is it an agent? Is it a parent? Right? Like there's a lot of things that I'm curious in that situation about. Is like, who's making these decisions for her? And then there's like, who pushes the panic button so quickly? Because she's had some really good coaches that she's worked with in the past, and coaches that, are like, what I mentioned earlier, like, who want to take their time, who know that it takes time to build and to make changes to a technique and to a tactical game plan. Like, it takes time to work on that. And to me, it's almost like she's like a soccer club, right? Like, that's like the soccer approach where, when they have a couple of bad games, like at the start of the season, just hired a new coach, and then, a few tournaments in, and they're like, all right, a few games in, they lose, and then, on to the next one. So I think, it's good that she learns, I think, to kind of push through and find somebody that she really has a good connection with, and then work hard on I think, building a longer kind of coaching relationship, and having the longer approach in her mindset, or whoever is making that decision.